Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tech Talk Thursday. It's a different day today. Number one, I'm not in the same room. I thought I'd still be in the attic room, but I'm here on my own. Martin McKenna is basically sunning himself somewhere in Mallorca at the moment, so I'm flying solo today, which is fine because I thought I'd share with you one of the cameras that I've been working with and testing over the last couple of weeks, which is the Obsbot Tail 2. We'll get onto that in a second. But first off, let me just say hello to Val. Hello, Val. Thank you so much for joining. I know you've not been very well, so I hope you're feeling 100% better now. I'm just going to turn the sound down a little bit. In my ears, anyway. So I'm actually here in the attic room. I'm just outside the normal room that I'm in, and the reason why I'm here is because I just wanted to strip everything back. I've only got like 2 or 3 scenes set up in Ecamm and no other cameras, so what you're seeing right now is the Obsbot Tail 2 in all its glory. So we'll talk about the new camera, why it's different than the Obsbot Tail Air, and this camera is not called the Tail Air, it's just the Obsbot Tail 2. I'm not sure why they changed the naming. I think it might be a different or a new line of cameras that they're potentially coming out with, the more higher end professional optical zoom lenses and all that kind of stuff, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, all is good. Anyway, Val, glad you are feeling better, which is great. So I don't even have a stream deck. I'm using the Elgato Wave Neo microphone with some noise cancellation sound processing on there, so hopefully everything sounds okay. Just let me know in the comments if you can hear me okay and see everything. I've just got basically 2 lights, an old square light up here. I don't know how old it is. It's a battery powered thing, so it might disappear and turn off halfway through the stream. And over here as well is just a bog standard sort of softbox light, and then I've just got my lights from the studio, a little light here and there, and that's it. This is how the studio is completely set up, and what you're seeing right now, as I mentioned, is the Obsbot camera. I'm also joined by, if I can just change this preset real quick and just go over to here, who's just chilling on the couch at the moment, so we'll go back to there. She's chilling out. And let me just go to this preset. Okay. So thank you very much, Val. Everything is sounding good. Great. So the Obsbot Tail 2. Let's take a look, first of all, at the size comparison between this camera, and the other ones. And just to let you know, on my channel, I've actually done a full review of the Obsbot Tail 2. So if you are interested, then just go and check out the video on my channel. And it was published, I think, yesterday. So I thought I'd jump in on a live stream and at least show what this camera is like. So let's go and look at the size comparison between them. So this is a still from my video, and just going to use Video Pencil here. So you can see that the Meet 2 is down here at the bottom. Very nice little camera. Excellent camera, by the way. If you want to just start off with your live streaming or recorded journey, I can wholeheartedly recommend the Meet 2. It's a fantastic camera for the money. All the way up to the Tail Air, and you can see that the Tail Air here was a sizable camera when it came out compared to the Tiny 2 and the Meet 2. But then we have the Beast, which is the Tail 2. And the reason why it's so big in comparison to the other cameras is simply it's got a 5,000 milliwatt hour battery in it and some fans. So it's designed for long-term, prolonged live streaming use, whereby it's not going to overheat. And if you are using it without any power, then it's guaranteed to last at least between, I think, 3 to 4 hours. They're stating how long the battery will last on this camera. So effectively, it's a bit of a big beast. It has got a decent sized camera in there. And if you're worried about connectivity, then don't be, because this camera has every connection you can possibly wish for. So on the left hand side here, you've got basically 2 USB 3 ports. One is for power, which is the one at the bottom, and then the one at the top is for your UVC connection control to your system. And that's how I'm connecting this camera right now. It's not connected via HDMI or anything. I'm just using the UVC USB port connected straight into Ecamm Live, straight into my Mac. No capture card, nothing. And you can tell me what the quality is like from your perspective. Also, yeah, something changed. Don't worry, it's a live demo. Thanks, Roy. Did I freeze? I'm frozen because I'm actually not basically on camera at the moment, but if I switch to my scene, hello, hopefully I'm not frozen. Who knows? This is connected in a bit of a weird convoluted way from a network perspective, but let's not worry about that. Just let me know if everything's working fine. But anyway, let's crack on. So with the Tail 2, you also have power over Ethernet and a LAN connection, so you can power this camera using the power over Ethernet adapter, which is pretty cool. So you've got full Ethernet connectivity as well there. You've got an SDI connection, so for professional outputs, you've got a 3G SDI. Now this is going to output at 1080p, so it doesn't give you full 4K. That's just how the 3G SDI connectivity works in this camera. But most people are going to be using that in 1080p anyway. Then you've obviously got full HDMI, and this is a full-size HDMI 2.0 port. So no more of those small HDMI connections that you saw in the previous cameras. And then we've got two RS-232 in and outs for serial connectivity, and then we've got a mic in and a line in. So one of the things that is different about this camera compared to the other cameras is that there's no inbuilt mic. So if you wanted to record, for example, with some scratch audio and then sync it up later if you're recording an external mic but wanted to sync the audio with this camera, that's going to be tricky unless you plug in an external audio device because there's no built-in microphone in it. So that's one thing I would mention about this. But other than that, you know, if you can live with that and plug in another microphone, then there's no problem at all. The big selling point of this camera compared to the others is the fact that now they've added a 5x optical zoom. So where before in the Tail Air and in the other cameras, they were all digital zoom. So now basically you've got a 5x optical zoom. Now it isn't a constant aperture for you camera lovers out there. What I mean by that is that the aperture at its lowest point is f1.8, which is quite wide and great in low light, which we'll get to in a second. But as you zoom out, or zoom in, sorry, you're basically going to, the aperture value is going to change. So it's not a constant aperture value as you do get with some high-end lenses where the aperture remains constant as you zoom in and out. This is actually going to change, and the lowest, the maximum aperture on this is f3.0 as you basically zoom out. So that's just one thing to point out there. Val, you may be right. Did they run out of space? Well, they've packed a lot in this camera, I have to say, and maybe they did. I thought it would be nice actually to have added a microphone of some kind in here, but we can't have that. Anyway, let me show you some of the zoom capabilities. So right now I'm actually zoomed in at, let me just get rid of this and get my Obsbot Start app up on here. So I'm actually zoomed in at 1.8 times. So I'm going to now just go to a preset, and I'm just going to actually zoom out. Now, let me just do that. And let me just zoom out. So this is the full zoom. So right now I'm actually zoomed out at, and excuse the clutter, this is more of an art room than an actual studio, so forgive all the mess, but there you go. But anyway, it's fully zoomed out now, and if I start to hit the zoom in button, and I'll show you the controls in a second. Let's go back to the preset 1. I can actually zoom in a bit more. I don't want to get too close because that's pretty horrific. Don't want to put you off your lunches, but let's do that. That's a f2.9 right now, so that's pretty zoomed out, zoomed in, sorry, as you can appreciate. So let's just go back to that preset. Let's not get everybody ill by zooming in. So the great thing is with this camera now is that you've got this 5x zoom. You do have a 4x on top of that, which is digital, so you can get a good sort of range of zooming in. Now I've tested the optical with digital zoom. It's okay, but it's a typical digital zoom, right? You are going to lose quality. It's not in the optics, it's all digital processing. So it's not going to be as good as optical zoom. But I think for a lot of sports, yoga, anything where you're moving around, cooking channels, stuff like that, with that 5x optical zoom, you're going to get really decent quality now. And you tell me what you think of the quality of this camera with sort of basic lighting. I've got a question here. Let's have a look from Ivar. You've been considering this camera for a while in multicam settings with other cameras. What other cameras are you using, and can you do a comparison with regards to color profiles? That's a very good question. I have used it with my Sony a7 IV. So I did some testing with color profiles and things like that. Right now, everything is manually set, and I was able to get a pretty decent color match between the a7 IV and this camera, but you do have to tweak it quite a bit. You do have a lot of sort of play over the saturation and hue and some other settings. It's not terrible. I typically would use this with other Obsbot cameras because they all have that certain look, but it is possible obviously to use it with that. And in my review on my channel, I did start with the a7 IV, but I didn't color correct it. So you will be able to see the quality difference between the two. This doesn't record in 10-bit internally or externally. The output with HDMI, I think, is 420 8-bit, and I think it's an 8-bit recording internally. So from a color spectrum perspective, it's not going to be the same as recording something directly on your SD card on your Sony device, and so on. So there's a few things there that's going to be different, especially when you're using it with high-end cameras. Let's keep in mind that this camera body combination is, I think, retailing for around $1,200 right now. And just full disclosure to everybody, I didn't buy this camera. Obsbot was kind enough to send it to me for testing and review, and they allowed me to keep the camera, which is wonderful. So just to put that out there, I didn't spend my own money on this. Obsbot did send me the camera, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of a comparison and a heads up of how the camera came to me. So we've got a question here from Tech Troublemaker. What does this camera look like? What does the zoom look like on this PTZ camera about using it to record stage probably 75 feet away? So I'm actually zoomed in right now, Roy. So, I mean, I can zoom in a little bit more. It'll be on my face. Ooh, so there's the autofocus. So I'm zoomed in right now. I mean, I'm going to put a little sort of camera in front of me. The aperture is changing, so it will be a little bit quieter. Darker, sorry, than it would be right now. The zoom is okay. I mean, the 5x zoom is all optical. So the quality of that zoom is going to be good. As you can see, I'm zooming all the way out now. So from a 1x to a 5x perspective, with it being optical, I think it's perfectly fine. But obviously, as you start to get into digital, it's okay, but it still looks like a digital processed signal. But it's pretty good, though. I mean, you can still make out what the images are. It's not terribly pixelated, but it's obviously never going to be as good as optical. But there you go. Hello, Saeed. Thank you for joining. And you're very welcome. I mean, it might be a good way in terms of doing another video where I can compare in terms of setting this camera up with the likes of a Sony. And just out of interest, Ivar, what cameras are you looking to potentially pair the Obsbot with? Is it Sony? Is it Canon? Obviously, they all have different sort of color sciences in them as well. But be interested to see what your setup potentially would be. If it's Sony, I can play around with the Sony cameras that I've got and do some comparison and try and get them looking like for like. I think there was somebody in YouTube who actually did a side-by-side comparison, but I think their image was very, very saturated compared to what they normally do. There is no log profiles in here, for example, so you're not going to get S-log or V-log or anything like that, so you don't have a flat picture profile or even D-log. You don't get any of those log profiles with the camera. I think that would have been nice to do that, because then you can add your LUT, you can add your Rec 709 correction LUT on top of that and things like that if you wanted to, but right now they don't have anything in that. So unfortunately, you're just stuck with whatever colors you've got on that system at the moment. Let me go into the iPad share on this side here. So on the left is the Obsbot camera, and on the right is the Obsbot Center. So I just wanted to show you that they've added some additional AI tracking features. Before, the AI tracking on cameras like the Tail Air and the PTZ 4K camera, the little Tiny 2, was pretty good. But now they've added things like animal tracking. They've added follow me mode. So for example, which is this setting down here. So if I just go into some of the settings, on the bottom left, you have this thing called me, which means that if I'm in a crowd, I could basically just tap on me now, and it's going to, one, recognize the fact that it's a human. There's a little, it's very hard to see, but in my video, I do zoom in. There's a little human person in the green on the bottom right. So now the camera is obviously going to follow me. If there was another person in the room and they were walking across me, it would always track me. So it's similar to the AI tracking features that you get with the likes of the DJI range of cameras, where they're really sort of using AI to, one, recognize me as the person that they want to track, and they will keep locked on and focused on me. Double tap on the iPad to get rid of that. The other thing is as well that it's got object tracking. So unlike the other cameras, you can now do object tracking. I think they say in the marketing documents that it's around 300 objects that they can recognize and up to 30 species of animal. I'm not sure how many animal species I've tested it on. I mean, I have cats in the house, so they have done a lot of testing with me running around and so on. But in terms of animal tracking, I've seen people track horses, birds, ducks, things like that. And it seems to work quite well. In terms of the sort of actual tracking from a camera perspective, on object, I'm just going to draw on this here. You can see there's a little green and it's going to lock on. And now that thing is going to start object tracking. So if you are doing demos and things like that, it's going to be pretty good at object tracking. I thought it was really good in terms of how it locks on. If I just hide it, it'll tell me that the subject has disappeared, but now it thinks that the camera is now my microphone. If I bring this into shot, it's picked up the camera again. So it has done a couple of weird things, I have to say. Let me just focus back on me for a second. So one of the interesting things that it did was when it was tracking my cat, it actually thought that this was my cat. It was an old pillow. So I'm not sure what that says about my poor cat, but she doesn't resemble a pillow. But it was quite interesting, the fact that it sort of just skipped very briefly on that. You'll notice that the movement is very smooth compared to some of the other PTZ cameras that Obsbot has had in the past. They've added this, I think it's called super lazy mode. Let me just switch off my tracking for a second. If I just go to this little button here, you've got super lazy, which means it's really smooth. It's almost like having a sort of a camera operator running with this camera, which is interesting. If I turn it up to crazy, which is what I've used in the past for the cats, and I don't recommend you doing this, especially if you are in a studio environment, but I'll just double tap on my face. Now if I move around, it's really going to start whipping and snapping, and it's, yeah, motion sickness are us. So we're not going to do that. I'm going to switch on to super lazy, and I'm just going to turn the tracking off at the moment. Same types of gestures and things that were in the original Obsbot cameras that you know and love are all there as well. They've enhanced some of those features. I've turned them off right now because I'm using my hands quite a lot, and it can get distracting, especially when it starts to think that I'm gesturing either to record or start to track me and things like that. So my plan was not to do any of that. So I'm just going to pause, go back to the setting for a second. I'll do my best, but yeah, I was very fortunate for them to have chosen me for this particular session and review and things. But we'll see. So Ivor is using Canon XA55 for his event, so they're not that far from the same price range. Of course, the AI would be a great selling point. It would be great to be able to match them. Yeah, I haven't got that camera, but I think it depends on what you're using as well. So if you're doing live events, then obviously you're going to bring them into some sort of platform. Now, obviously, there's various switches out there. You can switch in software, and a number of the software applications like Ecamm Live, OBS, Meld, and some of the sort of higher end physical switches would have some support for either LUTs and so on. But I think the software is probably the route to go, because then you can start to tweak the colors, maybe get a good color match and balance between those settings as you set up your cameras. But I am now going to do a video on that because I'm interested to see how easy or complicated it is to actually set up these cameras in this environment and try to get them as matched as well as possible. So in terms of settings, let's go back to the iPad a second. What am I doing not using a Stream Deck? Is there something wrong with me today? Saeed said, is a Stream Deck one of them? I'm not sure what that was related to, Saeed. I just can't remember the thread. So if you just want to put that comment back in there, what that was related to. In terms of color settings and things, I've set this to manual at the moment. So I'm on ISO 800. Now, they've got a dual native ISO range in here for those camera users out there. That means that the noise level associated with a particular ISO level will switch to a lower noise level as you go through the higher ISO levels. I couldn't find anywhere published what those ISO native ranges are in terms of, like Sony, for example. If you were in S-Log3 or something like that, then the base IO range would start at 800, I think, and then the next one would be 3200, where it would have the least amount of noise. So those are the two sort of upper and lower ranges that you would use as a dual base native ISO setting. In this camera, it goes from 100 up to, I think it's up to 6400, I want to say. Let's just check. 3200. But that's because I've bound the range between 100 and 32. So you can actually set that ISO range as well, whereby if you don't want the camera in very low light conditions to go above a certain ISO value, then you can actually set it to do that. And that's what I've done in this range. So I've gone between 100 and 3200, but I think the highest is 64. So, and please feel free, if you do have any questions about the camera, I'll do my best to try and answer them. I'll probably do another Q&A as people get hold of the camera and start playing with it and things like that. And I will do a few more videos and stuff. But yeah, it's interesting. Let's just talk a little bit more about some other settings they've got here. So if I start tracking, you've got a couple of different settings for me. You'll see in the top right that this is like a composition setting for framing. So whereby before there was only a couple of ways that you could actually get the camera to sort of zoom in and do various things, they've now got some presets. So whereby you can actually adjust the framing of the camera. So what that means is it's going to keep me in frame at this level. So it's going to be at sort of waist up. And no matter if I start moving around, it's always going to, even if I stand up and stuff like that, it's always going to try and keep me in that sort of composition within that framing. So it's a really useful tool to have, especially if you're filming somebody in sports and you always want to keep them in that frame. The camera's going to do the work and zoom in and out to keep them in that correct composure and that correct composite, should I say, within, or the framing within the camera. Again, I'm zooming out a bit more and zooming out again. That's the maximum I'll be able to zoom out in this framing. So I just normally keep it at 3, which is a nice sort of talking head type arrangement. So it really just keeps me in the frame. I don't have to worry too much about it. I typically don't move around too much anyway. So that's something to take note of. But depending on how you want this to be set, you've got the option now to go through these various framing settings to get the camera to do exactly what you want it to do. Okay, so you've seen other reviewers have noted that the 1080p internal recording quality is downright terrible. I'm interested to see if the same applies for the SDI and 1080p output. Well, I've tested the camera with HDMI 1080p, and it looked pretty good. I think it might be, I don't know what the main difference is in the recording encoder between the 1080 and the 4K, but I haven't done any internal recording with the camera on 1080p. I've done a lot on 4K, which seems to stack up pretty well. And I've tested also, as I'm doing right now, this is a 4K feed, but this is not out of HDMI. This is out of UVC. So I'm just USB connecting the camera into Ecamm Live right now and using it as that. The 4K footage looks great, but I'm on 3G SDI work for live events. I don't have anything to be able to test the 3G SDI, but I know that Ori Rashif, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, he's in the Obsbot Facebook group, and he's done a lot of testing with that. And you might want to try and reach out to him to ask him about what he thinks the quality is like from an 3G SDI, because I know he's tested that. So it might be definitely worth checking out and so on. But thank you for the questions. It's really appreciated. So let's switch off this AI mode. There's a couple of other settings that you can do as well. In this particular one, you've got a setting for single or group. That means if you're trying to film a group of people, it's going to try and work out where you are or where that group is in the framing and keep that group in the frame the best it can. And then obviously when you're on a different type of tracking, animal tracking, for example, which I don't have Martini or Khaleesi here right now. They've decided to run away. Never work with children or animals because they are never in the right place when you want to do a demo with them. But I'd have been chased around. Yes, there is a Facebook group. I'm not sure if Val can find it, but it's called the Obsbot Talent or the Obsbot Tail group, something like that. I'll try and find it. Let me just have a quick look. Actually, I'm already a member, so it would probably take me a couple of seconds to find it. Talking with yourselves. Why I just log onto this. Okay. Ecamm Live Community. It's called the Obsbot Tail and Talent User Group. That's what it's called. And I can put that in the comments, actually. Let me just do that for you. Yeah, it's great because the Facebook group they've done a lot of testing, they've done a lot of stuff, so it's definitely worth checking that out. So let me just go to my live stream. So a question for Val. Do you know, Val, if there's an easy way of posting a comment from within the Ecamm comments group? I probably can't because I'm actually on Restream, but I've just posted it in the chat. So it's that's the name of the Facebook group for you. So hopefully you'll be able to pick that up and join. It's a good community in there, and they have a lot of interesting topics as well. Martini, are you going to allow me to track you? No worries. Thanks, Val. So let me just go back to this, and let's see if I can do this preset. I'll just uncheck me, and let's see. I can go to preset 2 or 3 and recall. Okay, so I'm now going to do animal tracking. She might disappear and go crazy. So you can see that now we've got animal tracking on here. And if I go back to the iPad, so you can see now there's a little animal on the bottom right of Martini. And if I click on this, it tells me that I'm in animal tracking mode. So now you can actually see that it's tracking, and I can actually zoom in as well. So I could zoom in on her as well. I know Roy was talking about the zoom quality. Oops, it's because I've got tracking on. It won't let me zoom in if I'm already tracking her, which of course makes sense because it's trying to keep her in the frame. So let me just change the framing here. Let me just zoom in. So I'm on 5x, so that's the maximum optical zoom. And I could lighten the image up if I went to and set it to auto. So now I'm on auto exposure. So I'm just letting the camera do its thing. And I'm at 5x zoom at the moment. Martini. I know she's tired. But there she is. So that's at 5x zoom, just to give you know. And it's actually, the ISO, it's quite dark in here. I've only got 2 lights, so the ISO is peaking at around 2800, and it's wound the shutter speed down to 1/30. So I'll just put it back to manual right now. And I will go back to preset 1. All right, please come back with your questions if you do have any. Let me see what else I was going to talk about real quick. I only wanted to give you a little brief overview today of this. As I said on my channel, I've done a much more in-depth review. The good thing about it as well is just if you're using it with a multicam environment, if you've got other Obsbot cameras, it's fully supported with obviously the Obsbot app. It's got Wi-Fi in this camera, Bluetooth. So you obviously can use all the various connection methods. The interesting thing is it's also got 2 encoders. So what I mean by that is previously in the other Obsbot cameras, you couldn't output at 1 resolution in UVC mode versus 1 resolution in HDMI, for example. With this particular camera, you can. So they've allowed you now to, let's say, go via USB with UVC mode in 4K, which I'm doing right now. And then if you then switch that over and go into HDMI mode, then you've got the ability to change the resolution. So you've got the ability to basically output at 2 different resolutions using this system. Well, hello, Jill. Thank you so much for joining. We're nearly at the end of the live show, actually. We've just been doing a quick demo with the Obsbot Tail 2. But I'll give you a little view of my cat, who's sitting here, chilling out, as you can see. She's a bit camera shy at the moment, so that's fine. She normally is running around like a crazy person, but she's been the star. Her and Khaleesi have been the star of my Obsbot Tail 2 video. So I've been following them around, or should I say the camera's been following them around. I've not really been doing much, really, just pointing the camera at them and telling them to do things and just playing with them with their toys. But that's basically what I've been up to with the video. Okay, any other questions on this camera? I'm just trying to think if there's any other settings I wanted to show you. I mean, there's a couple of things. Obviously, the selling points of the camera is that it's also got the self-leveling mode. So if, like me, you don't really use your tripod monitoring leveler that Doc gave everybody at Creator Camp a couple of years ago, which has been a very useful tool, which is just a little spirit level in the form of a square box that you sit on your cold shoe or hot shoe on your camera, and it tells you the level of the camera. In terms of when you're positioning it on your tripod. If you, like me, and don't use that at all and just guess in terms of leveling your camera up on your tripod, then this thing is going to self-level, which is interesting. So you don't have to worry if you've got your camera on a tilt or an angle, then yeah, it's a bit crazy and it works really well. Actually, there's one thing I forgot to mention, which is really cool, is the fact that this camera will automatically go into vertical mode. I'm going to see if I can do it with UVC running. I'll try it. So now the camera has gone into vertical mode. So obviously it's completely crazy and zoomed out here. But if I just switch and give a new scene, and then if I zoom out on here, blank. Now this is actually in vertical, believe it or not. So if I just do some quick cropping, this has now gone into, actually, it's basically gone into vertical mode. And if I switch it back, if I just go back onto the iPad, actually, you'll see it better. It's all gone crazy. So on the iPad, it's actually in vertical mode on me. And what's happened is the lens has actually shifted and tilted. So that means if you're doing, and you can see it's just span around there. So what it means is if you're doing sort of vertical content, you don't have to orientate your camera in the vertical mode just by flicking this switch, and you'll see it better on the iPad. It just basically switches around into vertical mode, which is bonkers. And it's all done in the lens, and which is crazy. You can actually see the lens inside the camera body just shifting around, which I think is a bit of a feat of engineering. I don't know how they managed to do that. And you can't do it, obviously, if you're recording, because it's going to interrupt the recording. But if you're outputting via HDMI, UVC, stuff like that, then you can switch and flip the camera over into vertical mode without too much hassle. Valerie says, my camera level is crooked. Is it so? When it's like that, then you have to sit like this, and then it's all level, right? Is that how it works? Yes. Use that nice leveler that basically Doc sent us, because that was pretty cool. Oh, now I must switch over to the other preset real quick, because now we're blessed with. Come on, let's go back. Oh, it's not working. Where's my preset gone? Preset 2. I've lost my preset. Okay. It's the cat show. Now I've got Khaleesi here. Say hello. Can I do camera tracking on you? There you go. Let's do animal tracking. Just do tracking of Khaleesi. Okay. So now we've got camera tracking on. We've got animal tracking on. Kids and animals. All right, Khaleesi. It's not as if I'm trying to do a live show or anything, but it's fine. This is what's called a pattern interrupt when you're doing live shows. So there you go. Just distracting the audience with something. And now I'm absolutely covered in hair. This is probably a good time to start to wrap up. Hello, Keith. Keith, hope you're doing well. Hope everything is all right with you. Long time no see. Thank you for joining, and so on. Yes, she's got a very cute little face. She's in most of my videos now. She just, she's a ham. What can I say? She likes being on camera. Love it. Takes it away from me. Makes my life a bit easier and all that good stuff. Excellent. Yes, indeed, she is a cutie. She steals the show all the time. I think I've just grown some extra hair now. Sorry about that. Yeah, indeed, if you want to get to know more about Obsbot cameras in general, then I encourage you to join the Facebook group, because it is really good, and a lot of talented people on there who know what they're talking about, which is great, and it's definitely worth joining. I mean, yes, Obsbot did send me this camera, as I mentioned, but hand on heart, it's a fantastic camera. It does everything it says it does from an AI tracking perspective. Vertical video, the 5x optical zoom is worth the money in my book. Plus the battery life, you can record directly to your SD card. I mean, it's a great camera. I'm sure with other firmware updates, they'll enhance and do different things with the tracking, but it's very intelligent in terms of how it tracks. It locks on very well. I'm just checking that my cat is actually behind a vase. Khaleesi. Sorry, Khaleesi. This could all go horribly wrong in a minute. Thank you, Keith. I always watch you when I can, live at most times, on the TV where I cannot. Not a problem. Fully understand. But it's nice that you've joined me at the end of this show before all hell breaks loose with cats crawling over everywhere. I don't know why cats love to crawl. I have a shameless plug, real quick. Martin and I have built a course called Go Live Now, the step-by-step guide to going live on LinkedIn. We think LinkedIn is a little bit sort of untouched at the moment for professionals in the video space, and we are putting together a course on how to go live on LinkedIn. So if you'd love you to sign up, be on the wait list. It is going to be hopefully ready next week. That's just down to me to finish some editing. So I am the holdup, I'm the bottleneck. But if you'd love, I'd love you to join the group at least and sign up on Martin's site just to be notified when the course goes live. All right. With that, let me go back to my setting. I'm not used to not having a Stream Deck. This setup at the moment is super basic. I know Jill's only just joined, but I've just got my MacBook, Ecamm Live running, one camera, two lights, two little lights at the back, this microphone, which is, the $60 Wave Link, the Wave Neo from Elgato microphone, pair of headphones, and that's it. Super simple. All right. So thank you, Jill. And thank you, Val. You have to do a shameless plug on your own channel, right? I mean, what else? What are you supposed to do? All right. Well, thank you so much for everybody joining tonight. It's been a pleasure as always. And I know it's short and sweet, but, I don't have my co-host with me. So flying solo, I have to keep talking a lot. And what can you do? But I always appreciate everybody that joins and has supported my channel for many years now, and a big shout out to everybody who's joined today. So really appreciate everybody. So with that, I will bid you a fond farewell. I will see you next week at the regular time of 5 o'clock. And thank you, Val, for moderating and everything. So yeah, I'm here for the green tape. I know this. This was this is electrical tape, and when connections go a little bit bad, you gotta do what you can to get things working. It's a bit of a Heath Robinson setup at the moment. Everything's hanging together with a bit of string and so on, especially with the cats around. Anyway, thank you so much. See you soon. Take care of yourselves, and see you next week.